Okay, I'm going to try this again. I'm kind of ill prepared again as usual. I don't know if you can hear me yet, so I don't see my voice coming on. Man, sorry about that. Okay, here we go. I believe I'm finally ready. Anyways, I hope you're all having a great day today. Start of another week, or it might be the middle of the week, or whenever you might be watching this. After a week of storms in the desert, we finally got sunny skies. And actually, I rather enjoyed the weather last week. It would rain for a day and maybe a day and a night, and then it would usually the typical weather pattern here in the desert is it would rain, and then it would clear up. But last week it would rain and stay cloudy for another day or two, and then rain again. So today we finally have sunny skies out here. That's the beauty of living in the desert. You never know what kind of weather you're going to get from day to day, from spring to summer to fall to winter. Just one of those things out here in the desert. So today we're going to continue the conversation about hitting bottom, chapter 7 of my book, Healing the Wounded Child Within. I'm going to talk about the start of my fall. The start of the fall to the bottom. And there's some parts in this today that I'm going to talk about that are kind of tough for me to talk about. A lot of you never heard these things that I'm going to talk about today. So here we go. Like I said last week, there's a lot of bottoms for people. There's high bottoms, low bottoms, in between bottoms. It could be you get incarcerated one too many times, or you got drunk one too many times, or there's a number of different bottoms, and for everybody it's different. And I also believe that we all are given second chances, some of us third chances, and some of us even more. Not only by our significant others or our family, but even by God. You know, for most of my adult life, I lived on self-will alone. I just pushed through all my fears because nobody taught me how to be a man. So I had a lot of fears about being a man, a husband, a father, and just a contributing member to society overall. When I ran out of answers on how to be those kind of people, I would just fake it. And oftentimes the way I was learning how to supposedly be a man, a husband, a father, a contributing member of society was from other people in society, because I didn't have a father or a mother to tell me what it was really like to be a husband or a father. Not only not to tell me, but they displayed everything but what it was like to be a good father and husband. Now, the good part about that is I always say that everything that happens to us in life is a lesson, and we need to learn from it. So what I learned from them was that I learned how not to be a father. I learned how not to be a parent. But the problem is I learned all that stuff, but it still took me a while to act on what I wanted to be, because we are learned, everything we are is learned behavior, which has been handed down from generations to generations in our family. For example, Jesse in the Bible, this is a biblical example. Jesse, when they came to him and wanted his son, they knew that he had a son that would be the next king. After he showed them the 7 sons that were legitimate, he kept on saying, you have another son, and Jesse kept denying it, because it was an illegitimate son. And that was David, who was working out in the back of the field. So here Jesse is denying that he had that son because it was illegitimate. And what did King David end up doing in the long run? He ended up doing the same thing. He ended up having an affair and having an illegitimate child. So there's proof even back in the biblical days that everything we do is handed down from generation to generation. It's learned behavior. Now, remember, we're not going around on a conscious level saying we're going to do this stuff. It's happening at a subconscious level. Okay? So when what I was doing to become that man, that father, that husband, when all that would stop working, then I turned to drugs and alcohol, because everything was always about me. It was always about me. Everything was focused on Randy, but nothing was ever my fault. It was always about me, but nothing was ever my fault. It couldn't be my fault, because then I would look bad. Then I would be true. Then I would be proving my stepfather, my mother, and all those that told me I'd amount to nothing right. So at the age of 18, I know you've heard some of this before. Most of this is in my book. But at the age of 18, I walked away from church, God, deciding that God had nothing to do with my life. Had absolutely nothing to do with my life. I didn't want him in my life. If God was a God, then he was punishing me, and because he was punishing me, because he took my father when I was 12, because he put a stepfather in my life that beat me sexually, physically, emotionally, abused me. He must not want nothing to do with me. There must be something wrong with me. I refused to owe anything to God, who I believe had betrayed me. So I didn't owe anything to God. I can remember my motorcycle accident when I was 15, and it was God that literally saved me. And I can remember hearing God's voice telling me, Randy, you need to start fighting for your life because you're dying, but I'm never going to leave you. At 18, life says, no, God had nothing to do with it. It was all me. I fought for my life. The only reason I was alive is because I fought for my life. Well, I don't believe that no more. Absolutely, God had everything to do with it. But for a long time, I refused to owe anything to God, who I believe, really believe, truly believe, betrayed me in all aspects of my life. I was absolutely determined that God should have no credit for all my near misses, from the drug overdoses and reckless driving. All of those years of survival, those years, my survival of all those years, my surviving of all those years was nothing short of miraculous. And it's funny because during those 38 years of running and gunning, who did I reach out to every time I got in trouble? The God that I didn't believe in. The only time I used to reach out to him was with prayers from the foxhole when I got in a car accident, drunk, and totaled the car in front of me that pulled out in front of me. And miraculously, I was told to drive home carefully, Mr. Boyd, have a nice night. Because the other driver had told the officers that it was his fault. He pulled out in front of me. There was nothing I could do. It was his words. And the reality was, I got back on my knees in the back of my truck and said, God, please help me out of this mess. I think that was the last prayer from the foxhole that I had. So things started to turn around. Drastic changes started to take place. They started going south finally. And, actually what I was just talking about, that accident was actually in 2004. And I'll talk more about that next week. But in December of 2003 is when my life started really taking a drastic change. And a lot of people don't know about this unless they've read it in my book. They don't know this part about me. I'm not proud of it. None of this I'm proud of. But it's part of my story. And this was actually when things started turning and really taking me down a rabbit hole of, I'll just say death. So it's just, like nights before it, the night started off, it was all about me again. Because I'd finally achieved success. I was a very successful entrepreneur. Although I wasn't a millionaire, I could afford to do whatever I wanted and go wherever I wanted, whenever I wanted. I had a great company. I had a staff my company was self-sufficient. I mean, I was there almost, 90% of the time, but I could literally take off and I didn't have to worry about if my company was going to fold while I was gone, because I had a really good company. We had a really good staff, really good crews. So I'd achieved everything that I thought I wanted. that I thought I wanted. Things that I thought mattered to me most out of life, the finances, the nice house, the nice cars, all of that. I achieved it all, but I was still miserable. And no amount of money, no amount of toys, cars, houses, trips, or admiration could fill the void of my soul. It just wasn't possible. As hard as I tried, it wasn't going to happen. When I bought the Volvo, then I wanted the Mercedes Benz. When I bought just a regular truck, then I wanted the next truck. Everything that I wanted, I achieved. And every time I achieved and obtained what I wanted, it only lasted for a short time, and then I wanted the next best thing. It's a pattern in life. Eckhart Tolle talks about it in his CDs about living in the now. It really shed some insight into my life. All the drugs and the alcohol, it only temporarily numbed my unhappiness. And like chasing the next best thing in life, the next best car, the next best outfit, the next best bow for archery hunting, the next best rifle. I was always chasing and needing more drugs and booze to kill the pain. There's nothing in my life that could kill this pain. The truth be told, there's never enough drugs or alcohol on this planet to anesthetize the emptiness I was dealing with, that I felt. It just wasn't there. The only thing I felt that could really, at this time of my life, if truth be told, was death would be the only way that I could fill the emptiness, because then I wouldn't have to deal with the pain and the shame no more. But that wasn't an option for me. In fact, with the drugs and alcohol, they only turned me into a very angry and very rageful person. And actually, the rage was the result of anger, of suppressed anger for so many years. So even though I obtained all this stuff, it wasn't fulfilling, and it wasn't filling the hole in my soul. And the drugs and the alcohol over time turned me into a true Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. But then in the Christmas of 2003, a really good friend of mine invited me and Kathy to his Christmas party. And this Christmas party was some very, very, very successful people in the Valley, very successful entrepreneurs. So it was like I'd finally made it. And we went to the party. We knew a lot of the people there. We'd done stuff with them. We'd gone places with them, and we had a great time. And what I want to say is I had a more than just a few drinks. And I never knew with alcohol or drugs when I was going to snap. I was truly Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, because one minute I could be calm and cool, collected and funny. The next minute I'd be this evil man. I didn't like it. So as the party started to wind down and we getting ready to leave, there were some friends there, and what I thought, and obviously it wasn't, but I kissed one of these friends on the neck. It was a female goodbye. It was just a little kiss, nothing big, just a little kiss on the neck. I thought it was. My wife saw it, and she wasn't real happy about it, not at all. And I guess, when I look back on it, rightfully so. So on the way home, now mind you, this is a point where our peak of both of our successes. I'm driving, and I'm just talking about the past because it was a big thing for me. We're driving, and we had a Mercedes 500. We're driving home in our Mercedes 500, thinking for all that my wife was driving because I was drinking a little too much. And she brought up this incident in the party, and on the entire way home, we got in a very heated argument. And as often would happen when I was drinking, I became very verbally abusive. Then we were sitting in the driveway finally, and as we were arguing, and she's putting up with my abuse, as heartbroken as she was, she turned the engine off, turned to face me, and slapped me across the face. Kathy had never, ever raised a hand to me, and it's infuriated me. So I got out of the car, went around to open the door for her. When I opened the door for her, she went to slap me again. And she went to, and I deserve to be slapped, but I don't believe in verbal or physical violence, and neither does she. Now remember, this was 2003, so we're talking 16 years ago, almost, 16 years ago this month, actually. And as she went to slap me, I threw my arm up to block her, and as I did that, she fell backwards and landed on her elbow. Things got really, really real upset, or volatile at that point in time. I had both my son, my daughter, and my son's girlfriend at the house. They all come out to see what the commotion was. I was more than mad. I said a few things I probably shouldn't have said, and I walked in my house to grab my truck keys because I was going to leave. And where I left to, grab my truck keys, and where I left to, the knucklehead I took off and went to the Beer Hunter over here in La Quinta to grab something to eat and a few more cocktails. Well, I mouthed off and said, "Why don't you just, you want to call 911? Go ahead. Ain't nothing I can do about it." And they did. My son's girlfriend at that point called 911. So they came out to the house, and Kathy ended up going to the hospital. Her elbow hurt quite bad. And I don't know, I probably got home, and it was probably another hour later, and I showed up in my driveway in my truck, and there's probably 4 or 5 of the La Quinta police cars in my front yard, in the front of my house. Most of them were getting ready to leave, but I had 2 officers still in my house. As I pulled in the driveway, I literally threw my keys on the ground and put my hands in the air. And the officer said, "Randy, put your hands down. You're not going nowhere." So they talked to me about the incident. And in fact, this is the weird part. And this is right after the OJ case. So man, they were just starting these new laws, and they were pretty, the male officer was really cool, really kind of laxed. He understood what was going on. I'm not saying it was right. It was far from right. Nobody deserves to be treated. Neither one of us deserves to be treated that way. But they asked me if I wanted my wife to go to jail. I go, no. She was in the hospital. I go, no, I don't want to. Don't arrest her. She didn't really do nothing wrong. I mean, I'm not. It is what it is. It's done and over with. And they didn't arrest me. They couldn't arrest me really because I really didn't. I was just defending myself when she went down. But nonetheless, it wasn't fun. It was, hey, Judy and Jay and Sarah, thanks for joining me. This is a part of my story. A lot of people don't know about me and my wife, and I really don't like talking about it, but it's when I started falling to my bottom. So the police, they referred us to a domestic counseling center. I can remember my wife spent the night in the hospital, the night in the hospital, and came home on Sunday, and I was still there. And I got to tell you that Saturday night was the loneliest night I've ever had in my life. The loneliest night I've ever spent in my life, because I didn't know where she was, and I felt bad and remorse and all that stuff. But they referred us to domestic violence, so counseling center. So on Monday morning, I called and made the appointment. And that afternoon, Kathy and I walked into their facility. Many times in the past, almost every time in the past, when I had behaved badly, I had always retreated to the victim mentality that I was so good at. I had that victim card. It was right on the edge of my sleeve. I could pull it out whenever it was necessary to get myself out of a bind. And right away, or usually not then, but what I would do is pull that victim card out, and I start throwing the blame onto other people in order to avoid feeling shame and regret on me. I could always put it on somebody else. It was never my fault. If you wouldn't have done this, I wouldn't have done that. Well, the news is this, is that nobody in this world has the power to make anybody do anything. They don't have that kind of power. People have choices. And a lot of people that are struggling with, in recovery of abuse of any kind, They only know one choice. They don't know about the other choice. And so the choices we make is always the same choice, then it's always a bad choice. I was a pro at twisting the facts of any situation until I came out as the wrong party. So I had a way of twisting facts and making other people feel sorry for me. So they came out going, well, yeah, I probably caused you to do that. I'm sorry. And the reality is it was all me, not them. But this time, sitting in front of that counselor, I couldn't do it. They made it very clear to me about how much bigger and stronger that Kathy, and very much in the wrong I was. I remember looking over at Kathy. Her eyes were all red, crying. She had a sling on her arm. I could no longer hide the truth. I just couldn't do it. I mean, Kathy's the best thing that ever happened to me. And even through all this, I mean, I don't know. She's a strong woman. She went through a lot. I'm lucky that she stayed in my life. See, emotional abuse was easier for me to deny. But emotional abuse does so much more damage to an individual. I could tell myself that Kathy had started the fight when she slapped me. She started it. She slapped me. If she wouldn't have slapped me, I would have shut my mouth and everything would have been okay. But Kathy reached the boiling point. She was just defending herself. If she was a man, she probably would have knocked me clean out of the car. And I would have deserved it. But this one day, I couldn't shield my mind from the ugly truth that I had finally frightened her, terrorized her, in fact, terribly, when I knocked her to the ground. I don't care. I'm not even going to say it was an accident. It should have never happened. She was terrorized. I remember in Betty Ford when they said that we were terrorists. We were domestic terrorists inside of our own home. And it really, really, hearing that really hurt. Really hurt. She was there right there next to me. And she was hurting both physically and mentally. And I could really, really see it because my mind was clear and I was no longer drunk. I walked in there clear, not drunk, hadn't had a drink since Saturday. I know it's only 2 days. But the remorse I felt as I watched her wince every time she moved her arm killed me. It just cut me in half. I didn't like seeing her in that pain. She had been so good to me. She'd put up with so much of my crap. I think we were 20 years into our marriage when all this happened. 20 years. And she had walked through hell and back with me with my depressions, and she was always there for me. But when I looked at her, it was like a hot knife, a hot, dull knife even, stabbing into my stomach over and over again. But one moment, though, Kathy, because we were sitting at the table with the therapist, with a counselor, she looked over me with a genuine smile, and that just killed me. I was devastated when I saw that smile. Because I knew Kathy loved me. She loved me. Kathy was guilty of one thing, and only one thing. And she was guilty of loving me unconditionally, and loving me in ways I didn't think I was supposed to be loved because of the way I grew up. It wasn't nothing Kathy did. It was my beliefs about me that caused me to act out. Right there in the face of her love and her forgiveness, I couldn't hide anymore. I couldn't hide. I realized then that I'd become a monster. My therapist told me, one of my stepfathers, that you saw one of his defects that you would see almost daily, not every other day, but was his volatile temper and the way he treated my mother and the way he treated us. And my therapist told me one day, "You're turning into Jack, Randy." You need to get help. You need to stop. You need to turn your life around because you are turning into that person. Learn behavior. I didn't want to be that, but I didn't know anything else. I know this. I didn't deserve her love at that moment. And I certainly didn't deserve to get off without any legal consequences. This is where God does for us what we can't do for ourselves. No. I was really starting to believe that I was responsible for getting myself into trouble at this point in time. Maybe, just maybe I had to change. But even that wasn't enough for me. Even that wasn't enough for me. I wasn't done with creating disasters yet. It's just amazing how things can be laid right out in front of you. How many second chances are you going to get? How many third chances are you going to get? Some people only get one chance. I was lucky. So this was the beginning of my downfall. This is when things started really getting bad for me. I mean, really bad. What we're going to do next week is I'm going to continue this subject. I'm going to talk about more chaos. How the following year we worked together. We went to that counselor and we said, well, I got to quit drinking. So I quit drinking for a while, but we still go out and it was like, hey, let's just share a beer. We get one beer, next thing you know, I'm drinking Jack Daniels, and it just didn't work. But it still never got as volatile as that night. And it never got violent like that again in that next year. But what we'll talk about next week was really, really what took me to my bottom. So be sure to join me next week and we'll continue this conversation on hitting bottom. Hey, please visit the Courageous Healers website. It's courageoushealers.org. There's a lot of stuff upcoming, and right towards the end of this video, I'm going to go over one of those things. Hey, if you're looking for life coaching, hit my life coaching page up, changeyourlifestorynow.com, changeyourlifestorynow.com. Kathy and I together, we work with couples. We've had a lot of success with couples working on their marriages. We've had a couple come to us on the brink of divorce, and their marriage just turned around. So we're proud of that. It's all because we got God at the center of our life, and we're just a vessel for God. It's not us. We're just using what God has taught us to help other people. I work with people that are with addictions, that are abused. I do a lot of inner healing, a lot of spiritual work, a lot of spiritual healing as well. In fact, everybody I sit down with, the first thing I ask them, how's your relationship with God? And most of them tell me, I don't know. I don't know if I believe in God after what happened to me. I said, great. You're in the right place. I love working with that population. Hey, Benny, what's up, man? I love working with that population because I was once there. And so I can work with them. I can walk them back into the realm of God, the realm of spirituality, and let them know that God's not there to hurt them, that it's not God that's hurt them, it's man. Because man is given free will. So this is what I have. I can do hourly sessions, which 1 hour really doesn't do a whole lot. It can get you started, but we've also got 3 months, 6 months, and 1 year packages I can offer at discounted rates. So all you would have to do is go to my loveyourlifestorynow.com page, fill out the contact information, tell me what you're looking for, send it to me, and usually within 4 hours you're going to hear back from me, if not sooner. I'm real good about getting back to my emails and as quick as I can. So I know it's important to you. If you're reaching out, then obviously it's important to you. Remember, you can get my book, Healing the Wounded Child Within, on Amazon. It's in paperback, it's on Kindle, and it's also an audio book now, okay? If you'd like to make a one-time donation or become a monthly contributor, please visit our website, courageoushealers.org. Just click on the donate tab. We're a 501c3 nonprofit organization, so all your contributions are tax deductible. You can either make a one-time donation or you can set up to do a monthly contributor. And we're just trying to build our base. I'm going to go over some stuff right here in a minute that we're looking, we need some financial help with. Know that 100% of any of my donations, any of the funds that come to me, go directly to the foundation. I do not receive any of them on a personal level. It all goes right into the foundation to cover any cost that we need to cover on the foundation. I'm not pulling anything out for my personal use whatsoever, okay? And for a donation of $60 or more, I will send you a signed copy of my book, Healing the Wounded Child Within, and a copy of my 30-day devotional to wholeness. The devotional is an excellent devotional that you can read by yourself or read with your partner at night. At the end of it, there's 3 contemplative questions that you can ask yourself, answer them, and what some of the couples that we have worked with were doing is they were doing it together. They would answer the questions by themselves, and then we'd come back and they would talk about the questions together, and it provided some very deep healing within the relationship. So that's a $40 value, $60 donation or more. I'll send you a signed copy of my book, Healing the Wounded Child Within, and a copy of the 30-day devotional to wholeness. Okay. So now the Courageous Healers Foundation, we are in collaboration with Change Your Life Story Now. We are going to we have our upcoming workshop series. We're actually making a series. It's called Unmasking Yourself. The series is called Unmasking Yourself. There's 4 different dates. March 14th, we're going to be talking about personal communication. I'll put the website link right down here at the bottom here in a minute. You can read more about it. There's a flyer on that on the website for the communication workshop, so you can see everything that it is. And then on June 13th, we're going to be talking about Journey to You. And basically, that's going to just cover our behaviors are naturally passed down from generation to generation. We'll explore some of these generational behaviors that have been handed down to us. And we'll go into how you can remove and replace some of those behaviors that we inherited. So that's on June 13th. September 12th is Secrets in Silence. This all goes hand in hand. Remember, we're only as sick as our darkest secrets. And secrets in silence are what keep us stuck in resentments. And actually, a lot of times, resentment, anger, hate, and a lot of times keep us stuck in our addictions, whatever they might be. And the last one, right before Christmas, December 5th, we're going to do a workshop on forgiveness. And you do not want to miss this one, because so many people are very confused about what forgiveness is. And that's why they don't want to forgive. And this makes it very clear about what forgiveness is and what forgiveness isn't, and who it's for and who it's not for. So if you can't do any other ones, this is going to be December 5th. I highly suggest you do this one. What we're going to do is we're still working on the on our prices. We're going to offer you can buy one package. You know what's up. You can come to one workshop if you want. We got the couples workshop, but that price is all posted already on the flyer. Or you can purchase the whole package, and we're working on that right now at a discounted rate. Or you can purchase 2, whatever you want to do. We're working on that right now, and that'll be posted hopefully here within the next week or 2. Before Christmas, we'll have it up. But those are the workshops. If you visit my website, I'm put it in there right now. Give me 1 second. So there is it takes you right to the page, and if you click, there's a register here button. Click on that button, and you can pay for it. This right now, the only thing that's on there is the communication workshop. It's great, personal communication. We believe that one of the major failures in marriage is a lack of communication. There's just people do not know how to communicate properly, so we want to work on that. And the communication in your marriage, it also affects with your friends. It affects your workplace. There's just people have not been taught how to communicate correctly. And it's a very valuable workshop. It's going to help you to start the journey into being able to communicate with your partner, your spouse, your kids a lot better. So I highly encourage you to sign up for that one. That one will be March 14th. So you can Click on that button, register button now, and it'll take you right to the registration page. You can pay for it and register all in one shot. Real simple. Made it simple as I could for you. So, all right. So that's it for today. I'm gonna, once this is done, I'll download it. I'll put it on my YouTube page. So if anybody has missed this, please go to my YouTube page. It'll be up there by tomorrow. And when you're over there, just take 2 seconds and click on the subscribe button, please. I want to build that audience a lot. We got a lot of things working behind the scenes. I got a social media team that's helping me now. So it just takes 2 seconds to click on the subscribe button. It doesn't cost you nothing, but it helps a great cause, okay? So anyways, remember, if nobody tells you they love you today, Randy does, but more importantly, God does. Everybody have a super blessed week. Love you all. Bye.